despite what their moms told them. They just aren't talented enough for radio. Unfortunately, anyone can have a show these days. Sean.
Well, I'm pretty hard to figure out sometimes. In fact, I can't even figure myself out sometimes, so don't you try to.
Joe.
You're an idiot. And really a disloyal person.
This is the Cuse Militia. Those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
It's the most bullshit thing I've seen in 30 years.
Welcome, orange men and ladies. Happy Tuesday. This is the Cuse Militia with Sean and Joe at Cuse Militia on the socials. Go there. Join the militia. Thank you for tuning in to hang out with us. We appreciate all of you. This is your Clemson preview. We'll let you know what we think about the 3-2, 1-1 in the ACC Clemson Tigers. And, of course, go over our week's predictions. First, we're going to give you our predictions from last week. We'll go over that and see who came out on top there. Kickoff for Syracuse Clemson is set at 7 o'clock Friday night. And Otto's Army's trying to break the attendance record there. So just so you know, that would be great. Make that place loud. And we definitely need that. It would certainly help the players. Syracuse local J.J. Starling from Baldwinsville, he made his decision today. Guard chose Notre Dame, so I know that there was a lot of high hopes on him. We've been hearing about this for quite some time, and as a Syracuse native, of course, we wish him luck at Notre Dame, except for when he plays us, of course, which is
That's the one thing.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing. You're going in conference, right?
Yeah. Go to Stanford or something.
Yeah, what were the other ones? Stanford.
Duke.
Well, at least we didn't go there. There.
Northwestern was another one, so.
Okay. All right, well, you win some, you lose some, right?
Yeah.
This basketball team, by the way, for what it's worth, is going to be a stellar basketball team this year. Now, this is this is next year's commit. So.
Hopefully. There's people that have their doubts.
I think I heard Coach Boeheim say with Cole Swider, Joe Girard, and Buddy, it's probably some of the best outside shooting he's ever had on his team at one time. So,
yeah, and there's an article out there about Jesse Edwards getting stronger, putting on muscle, stuff like that. So Barama seems like he's ready to go.
Yeah, are you hooked up to your mic, or are we going through? You sound different.
Is that better?
Yes, that's better.
No.
That's so much better. Holy cow. What a difference. Yeah, real
Mike was on mute.
He's only been doing this for 5 years now. Total professional.
No, I mean, normally we do the checks before, but
True. We're trying to figure out a technical issue we keep having, and we're using all kinds of different methods. So we missed the radio check in the beginning. Radio check. So, all right. With that said, let's do this before we get into Clemson. Let's go ahead and go over last week's picks. Joe, you had Syracuse winning this thing, 34-32. Your score saved you. So I had Wake 35-24. Final score 40-37. I had a difference of 13, even with getting the 5 extra points, negative points for choosing the winner. Joe, you had 11. Lowest score wins. We're 3-3. Halfway. We're both. Boy, that's fitting, huh?
Right.
So, anyway.
For a minute there, I thought we might have had a chance to hit my score, too.
I know there's always that small window in the game where you're like, well, this is possible. I mean, and as someone
I had Syracuse with 34, and I had Clemson with 32. So, I mean.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to get too, and you got it because of some missed extra points. That's how you got close.
Maybe, possibly.
He's so smart. He predicted the missed extra points. I doubt it.
No, I doubt it. Yeah.
But good on you, man. You beat me by 2, even though you didn't pick the winner. That's pretty solid. So, anyways, I don't know where we're at for the year, but if we end up tied, then that's where we're going to go, unless we make a bowl game, in which case, obviously, that's going to be the tiebreaker, right?
True.
So, all right. Before we get started with your Clemson preview, I got to tell you first about the Spotify Green Room app. go there. We had some fellas in the Spotify Green Room app last night, kind of eavesdropping on us. And you can go to the iOS or Android stores tonight, this morning. I know some of you listen at night and some of you listen in the next morning, but go there, download the app. It's free. All you need is a username and password and an email address. You can follow us at Cuse Militia. You will sign up for notifications if you would like. You can get a notification when we go live. You can join the room. You can chat to us via the room, or you can request to speak. You can get on with us during fan feedback and have a grand old time. You also do not just have to follow us. Folks, you can do your own thing, which is cool. You can basically have your own little podcast without any equipment, and it's totally free, which is amazing. They will even send you a recording of your green room, of your live green room event. Yeah. So you can have it record, it'll email it to you, and boom, all you got to do is take that file and turn it into an MP3. You can have your own podcast right off of the app. It's really kind of cool. I forgot to mention that too, by the way, because we don't record them because we're already recording. So anyway, really cool. Go to your iOS or Android stores. It's a great way to get involved with us or do your own thing or follow a number of other topics. So Spotify Green Room app, iOS or Android stores. Download it today. It's free. All right, Joe, Clemson and Syracuse all-time series sits at 7-2 in favor of the Tigers. Clemson is currently on a 3-game win streak following the 2017 win of the Orange, or for the Orange. In fact, that game was played 4 years ago tomorrow, October 13th. Tomorrow for us right now. Clemson coming off of a bye week, which is always awesome for Syracuse. They've really had 2 weeks to get their guys healthier, obviously. Junior wide receiver Justin Ross, he's likely going to be back after an injury. He's second in receiving with 23 receptions, 231 yards, and 3 touchdowns. While also looks like sophomore wide receiver E.J. Williams is questionable. Backup running back Will Shipley is also questionable. Both of these, by the way, they say questionable. Both of these guys, I think, are not likely to play by Dabo's comments during his press conference. So, Clemson, obviously, Joe, no doubt they're going to want to establish the run with Kobe Pace and Oyungalele. 2 lays.
Yeah, what you said.
No doubt. They've watched the Hartman tape from last week against the Orange. They're going to try to expose the DBs the same way he did. But this is obviously not the same Clemson team that we're used to, although still Clemson, though. So take that with a grain of salt. They do struggle a little bit more on offense, obviously, putting some new pieces into place, and they've dealt they've dealt with quite a few injuries themselves. So as every team should focus on what Syracuse has been doing is they seemingly found their identity. Stopping Sean Tucker and Garrett Schrader is going to be their number one objective. I didn't run you through all the rankings and stuff like I normally would because they're kind of inaccurate due to the week off this early in the season. I just don't think it's accurate as I was looking at it. But they do average 4.8 yards a carry on the ground. That's good enough for 147 yards a game, averaging 176 yards through the air a game, good enough for 5.7 yards a completion. But where the battle is going to be is with Syracuse's run game, like I mentioned, and Clemson's defense. Syracuse is 11th in the nation in rushing offense with 5.4 yards a carry, 243 yards per game. Juxtapose that with Clemson rushing defense right now through 5 games, only allowing 2.7 yards per carry, just over 100 yards a game. So really good. Their losses to NC State and Georgia, that I think we all watched the Georgia game, just a defensive juggernaut there. Yeah. And only scoring 3 points. But, wins over Georgia Tech and Boston College in the ACC didn't exactly light up either one of those games. But, Joe, it's tough to gauge where we're at with this team right now, especially coming off of this bye. And you just got to, if you're Syracuse, keep doing what you're doing and execute and limit the mistakes. And I honestly think as we went into our last game against Wake Forest, I think this is a winnable game. It's just how well can they manage themselves. It's all about not shooting yourself in the foot. And they've done pretty good, but a couple more things to clean up, Joe. How do you see it?
Well, I mean, you went over their schedule, and when you look at their just the games, Georgia 10-3, Georgia Tech 14-8 win, where they could have lost that. NC State lost in overtime, 27-21.
Yeah, that's
sorry,
right.
two
Overtime.
two overtimes, right? And
Yeah.
then Boston College 19-13. So when they've played teams, I mean, obviously, albeit pretty good teams, but when they played Power 5 teams, they've really struggled to score. It's been a low-scoring game. Their game against South Carolina State, they won 49-3. But other than that, they've had some issues, obviously, scoring. But their defense, like you said, top-notch. That's really where it's going to come. Clemson, no doubt, getting 2 weeks to prepare for us and being able to watch Schrader evolve and the offense evolve. And obviously, you know where the strengths are. So. And obviously they know where the weaknesses are, and they're gonna deal with that. And so you got some receivers that are gonna be able to beat some of our guys possibly one-on-one. So they're gonna take some deep passes and deep balls and stuff like that. They're gonna try to get a run game. They lost Will Shipley. I saw him get injured against Boston College. He's not on the Clemson depth chart this week.
Yeah, he's not gonna play.
Yeah, I mean he's not. I didn't think he was gonna play, right? So now you're talking about them relying on a true sophomore, and a true freshman running back as far as their top two. Excuse me, with Kobe Pace and Phil Mata.
Lele also.
Well, yeah, he can run a little bit too, but I mean, he's averaging 3 yards. I mean, yeah, I get it, but
not quite the threat Schrader is, but he's
right,
definitely
he's still,
something.
He's still a little bit of a threat, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But when you look at him throughout the season through 5 games, and you compare him to even like the passing stats of Schrader, like if Schrader had a full 5 games, I feel like he'd probably be past him. Now he does have a good quarterback rating overall, but to your point, they only average about 176 passing yards. He's only got 3 touchdowns to his 3 interceptions this
Been
year.
sacked 10 times.
Yeah, so, and
in
again,
5
that's
games,
another thing.
That's pretty good.
Clemson's got some injuries and some people and some pieces where, I mean, from what I've heard, they've only got 5 offensive linemen that they, really feel good about, and they really don't have any room for error for injuries and stuff like that right now. Obviously, to Dino's point when he had his presser yesterday, they have the best personnel in the ACC. They get the best recruiting classes. So, again, sometimes the teams like that, it's just getting it to click, getting it to work and stuff like that. And obviously when you get rid of a Trevor Lawrence and you get rid of a Travis Etienne and you lose some other guys, then sometimes it's not always – I mean, Clemson, usually they just pick up right where they left off with the next guy up, but just hasn't been the case this year. So, yeah, it's going to be tough, man. I think it's going to be tough to score. I think that they're going to force us to beat them through the air. And
they could. They absolutely could, which would put us in a hole. But you can't give up on eventually it's going. I think it'll work somehow.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard to prepare for Tucker and Schrader. They're both so good at it.
They are, and then like I said, they do have 2 weeks to prepare, and again, we talked about it with Wake Forest, and it's like you got to obviously do it till someone stops it, but then if someone stops it, you got to have something to combat that so that can work to possibly open back up the run.
What kind of wrench in the gears would it be if Tommy came out?
I can't even. I mean, barring an injury, I don't know if we can.
Play with that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a situation where, again, maybe that's why Tommy spoke the way that he did and about staying and everything, because maybe there is going to be a situation where he has to come in and save the day like he did for Dungy a couple different times. And, really where that would work is in a situation where, people think, oh, it's just Tucker and Schrader and this and that. And then, you stop the run and then maybe you're not prepared for Tommy to come in, So the one big thing really Taj Harris is a big blow to us because, he was a quick hitter, every year he's had, a couple bombs for touchdowns and stuff like that. And it just feels like we haven't had that guy be able to replace him yet, but it's only been 1 week. So again, I fully expect Clemson's defense is easily the best defense that we probably will play all year, if not definitely up to this point. So it's going to be a big challenge, especially after the type of game that we played, the type of physical game, the amount of carries and hits that Tucker and Schrader played. Now you're talking about, a short week with Clemson coming off of a bye. So, obviously, when you look at it, it's not the greatest situation that you want to come off of. You would want to come off, at least in that situation, you want to come off with a W from the game before. But I don't think it's hard to get up for Clemson. And to your point, it's very, very close to 4 years to the day of when this happened. And, I fully believe after the last 3 games that I've seen that we can compete with, the teams that are on our schedule and in our division. And this is just going to be another game where, they're going to have to prove that. So hopefully it's not a situation where they figured some stuff out and, they saw some weaknesses and they come out and they hit some real big plays and then it forces us to have to score with them. If they continue on the path of scoring the way that they've been scoring, then we're going to be in the game.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, we know that their run game is not a huge threat. They're going to have to obviously establish a run game. And, the DBs, they're going to have to be on it. Deuce Chestnut's been exposed a few times. Mm-hmm. And, it's those little things to make improvement on not getting burned. And, this Clemson offense doesn't really exactly light it up. This is going to be another... Right. You know what I'm saying? This could just be another defensive battle. And but with Clemson's defense, I worry a lot about the passing game. I don't want to have to just be one-dimensional and run this RPO and just give up passing the ball either. But on the other hand, these wide receivers are going to have to step up for us, just like we talked about last night. And to your point with losing Taj, I mean, it's a huge blow. It's a huge blow. I mean, our leading receiver right now is still Sean Tucker, guys. Right. With 204 yards,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, in this Clemson defense with James Skalski and Balin Spector, 2 senior guys, I think at least fifth-year senior guys. They've been around, and those guys are animals. So it's not going to be easy. Balin Spector, I believe, against NC State, Skalski got hurt for a little while. Balin Spector, I think, had over 20 tackles in that game.
That's insane.
So their defense is for real. They're still legit. It's still a Clemson defense. It's still probably close to a national championship defense. But again, it's what is their offense going to do? I don't think that this offense is as good as Wake Forest. I don't think this offense is as good as maybe even Liberty's when we played them. They're going to have to come out and improve a lot. And again, with young, fresh guys that are just coming in, they're going to get that gradual, improvement. I believe in the beginning of the season, I said, I think it was on the podcast with
Mike and Tyler,
Tyler and Mike, that this Clemson team was a team. This is the year where you wanted to play them, like the first couple games in the ACC. And I guess we got our wish.
Halfway through is not too bad.
I wish it wouldn't have been off of a bye, but at the end of the day, we had to put a lot more players in the box to stop the run against those teams. I think Willis, he kind of brought a different, unique kind of, weapon that we had to stop with him being able to run. So I think that, there was a couple times when we had to rely on man-to-man with no safety over top, or maybe just one safety over top, and they beat us a couple times. And then with Wake Forest, it was the same thing. We had to bring guys up, and we just had to rely on man-to-man because we needed to bring those guys in to stop that. So if we can stop their run and get pressure on the quarterback without having to send a whole bunch of guys and put 8 in the box or something like that, then
well, that's just it.
I think that's safety help. That's one of those things I saw in Wake Forest. A lot of those balls we got beat deep. It was straight, just man to man. There was no help. There was no nothing. It was 1-on-1, mano-a-mano, and we got beat.
It was speed
Clemson's
too.
Got the receivers to do that too. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So a straight speed, obviously, an issue. I mean, that's my one concern. I'm not too worried about them running the ball. I am a little worried about us running the ball, but I'm more worried about getting beat, I think. And, this dude's been sacked 10 times. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and especially for a Clemson, quarterback. But, again, I just think we just have to keep on the upward trajectory of just, when things happen, then we just get better, We got to keep our penalties where they've been the last couple of games versus where it was earlier, You see players just getting better and learning all the time, and, our special teams has to be better. We can't be missing some chippy field goals.
We can't be. We gotta make the right kind of contact with the punt too.
Battle.
Yeah, and that too. Yeah.
So and that's one of those things where this year too. It's funny because a lot of times Clemson they're dealing with injuries this year, and I think it has a lot to do with how close the games have been. In normal years, you usually get to the third or fourth quarter where you can bring in some backups, you can save some of that, but these guys have been in dogfights, pretty much 4 out of 5 games. So this Clemson team, and especially the first team of, the offense and the defense, they're getting a lot more playing time through the first 5 games of the season than they normally do. And I think that's what's attributed a little bit to these injuries. So obviously the week off is going to help, but they're still more banged up than usual when you talk about coming to week 6. So
yeah, they really are. And I was trying to keep up with some of the names, and I think a couple of them are definitely on offensive line, and there's a couple that I don't think even really play a whole lot. And so the big ones I mentioned, as far as Shipley, right, that's kind of a big loss to them. I think it's yeah. I mean, they're almost splitting carries, those guys. So.
Yeah, I mean, they've been trying to figure out a guy, and I think that with Shipley, with Shipley and with Kobe Pace, I think they found something with the 1-2, and now you're going to kind of change it. Kobe Pace, he's got the normal speed of, a Clemson running back that we're normally used to. It's just Travis Etienne we've dealt with for the last 3 or 4 years, and he was just special.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this guy is 5'10", 210 pounds. And, he's going to be kind of one of those normal Clemson guys, except for, their offensive line isn't as normal as it is. And, this Phil Mata freshman that's going to be coming in, he's 6'1", 225. So he's going to be a little bit of a bruiser and stuff like that. And, it's going to be a physical game. It's going to be, we've changed the way that we've played, because of our personnel. And now you're talking about a situation where, we're in there and we're being the physical ones, we're the ones trying to win in the trenches and trying to ground and pound and tire the team out, other defense out. And, our whole kind of thing has changed, and I'm interested to see how that's going to work against a team like Clemson and the personnel that they have. But I think that our team isn't dumb. I think they're old enough to understand and have good enough captains and older seniors and stuff, and high-level character players to understand how close that they are. And, Garrett Schrader, I think, is gaining more and more confidence in the locker room every single game. And, he's only trying to get better. So, Dino hasn't lost the locker room. This team is well aware that they probably should have won both these last games, and very well could have. And they know where they need to get better. So, like I said before, it's not hard to get up for Clemson. It's going to be a Friday night, probably on ESPN, right? Everyone's going to be watching. So, and again, we've been playing them good the past couple of years. This has become a thing. People remember this. Even normal, just random fans that may not even be fans of a team in the ACC. They remember, when the Syracuse beat the Clemson, and then when they almost beat the Clemson.
Can you believe that was 4 years ago?
Yes, I can.
You can?
Yes, I can, because this past 2 years have just flown by. So, yeah.
Yeah, what was I going to... You were saying something. Oh, yeah, it's on ESPN, by the way. And the game time for Virginia Tech was announced as well. That's going to be at 12:30.
Oh, that's fun.
On ESPN 3.
No, you're going to be there, so what do you care?
I mean, I'm just saying, though. I want people to see me,
No one's going to see you.
Yeah, they will. Camera's gonna. Yeah, they will. The camera's gonna be on me.
I bet. Unless you're out there.
Always. The camera was on you. Your goofy ass one time.
Hey man, look, that was a bowl game, and I was the I was the guy in the fan. I was the guy in the fan that knew that it was a personal foul. I just was throwing the flag.
You and everybody else in orange knew it was. you were throwing the flag.
That's
idiot.
what I was doing.
I know you were. I know.
Yeah. So.
Obviously, Joe has a hard time dealing with humor sometimes. I don't think I'm going to be on TV, but there's a possibility. But now you're going to have to watch me on the app.
No, but it's not that I have a hard time.
You are too dry on the podcast because you are not like this in real life. Many people don't know that. Joe is very stiff on the podcast. Very stiff. It is very difficult to loosen Joe up on the show. But he is very loose when he's not on the show. So there's that. For anybody who didn't know, there's a little inside tidbit about Joe.
Yeah, but some of it is trolling too. Because I know you're trying to be funny, and I shut it down instead of go along with it. So.
I know. It's freaking... You're terrible. You're a terrible person. And I hate you. All right. Winner of last week's final score prediction was Joe. I already have mine written down. Mine's written down. So I'm just going to say it. Look, I think Syracuse has improved. I know Syracuse. We all know Syracuse has improved every week. I do not see any reason why coming into this game that they cannot continue that trend. I think they fix a lot of the issues. If Coach can call a little bit better game on some of the stuff and the players can execute a little better, all of them as a team, they can pull this out. It's going to be extremely hard for any of these teams to stop Schrader and Tucker. The offensive line just makes holes, and this is going to be their biggest challenge. So so far this year, we're going to see how they do. I think they can succeed. I don't know what the passing game for Syracuse is going to look like. That's just too hard for me to even guess right now, but I do think Syracuse pulls out the win 28-24. A little higher than maybe I would like to go, but every time I go low with Syracuse, man, they put up points. I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
So
and that's really the thing, right? Is that how much better is Clemson's defense than some of these teams that we've been putting 30 points up on, right?
Right. It's difficult to know, really, honestly.
But they held Georgia at what, 10?
10.
Some other teams at 8 for Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech again, 8, Boston College 13, NC State 21. Right. We won't even go South Carolina State, obviously 49-3 whooping. So,
yeah, but it was 27 for NC State, and that was in 2 overtimes. And NC State, realistically, they probably have a better offense than us. It's more balanced. They have a quarterback that's been there. They have receivers. They have running backs. So it's weird things happen, obviously, in games like this when you think it's going to be low scoring and some big plays and everything. But that's really what this whole game is going to be about. Because again, Clemson's not dumb, and they see what's working, and they're gonna take it away. And obviously, the big question is, well, can they? Because nobody has yet, right?
Well, can Syracuse keep the momentum up? It's all about limiting any of those mistakes that are going to be momentum killers. And
that's really where I go with this, right? It's the momentum killers, it's the mistakes, it's everything like that, and we have to be able to win those, and that's just the bottom line. And we also have to. I feel like every week, Sterling Gilbert has came out and thrown a different wrinkle in on our offense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
the things
get
evolving,
a little bit more
time.
and a little bit more. So
right.
I'm hoping. If we just come out and we just have what we have from last week, and then that's pretty much it, and we don't got some receivers. Some receivers are going to have to step up. Mm-hmm. Not let the ball, hit them in the helmet and catch it this time. Right? It's just certain things that just need to happen when you play against the Clemson, and Clemson hasn't been in this position. And they're used to being in the ACC championship.
They're not ranked anymore.
I think they've won the ACC championship in
3-4 years,
6 years.
Yeah, well,
that's 6 years or something like that. 6. They're going to the college football playoffs. This team, all these players, for the most part, they remember that stuff. So if you don't think that that they didn't take this bye week to try to turn this season around, because again, it's all up for grabs. Just because they're 3-2 doesn't mean that they can't make the ACC championship, because one of those losses is to Georgia. So they only have one ACC loss
to a good NC State team. They have both of their losses are to pretty great teams, pretty good teams.
Right. So it's just one of those things where I think that we're going to see probably the best version of Clemson that we've seen probably to date, and that scares me. So, big plays, turnovers, all that stuff, it's got to work for us. I know that we can definitely compete and that we have a chance in this game, but I think I'm going to go.
He's going to pick Clemson, folks.
I'm going to pick Clemson. Yes. I'm going to go 24-23 Clemson.
Well, 24-23. That would be a heartbreaker, Joe. My heart's already broken with that score.
Well, I'm just going to take a little from your playbook. I just look at it like if I pick Clemson and they win, then I win. But if they lose, then Syracuse wins. So
it's a win-win for you,
it's
buddy.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, totally. That's why you never bet on. I always bet against my team if I'm throwing money on it. Sorry, it's not a lack of faith. It's a win-win.
Yeah, we are getting some guys back too, right? So,
yeah, look.
Jihad Carter looks like he's on the depth chart. I did not even know that.
Whose offense is going to match up worse to the other's defense?
Right.
Because
our defense
could totally win. Yeah, but our defense could totally win this game, regardless of their defense, if we can just move the ball, stay on the field. Dabo's not used to that, by the way. He's never played this version of Syracuse. Well, not many people have, really, but we still did, even when we had something similar, we still did the orange is the new fast stuff. He hasn't seen this version of the destroying the clock Syracuse team, where your opportunities are limited and your defense can get wore down. So that's a factor that I know he knows about, but hasn't had to face.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. It's definitely different. It's a different Syracuse team that he's faced, but and even with Dungy, to what we said, he threw a little bit more. He didn't run like Schrader, so there's a lot of improvisation, right? And again,
easy for him to say.
When you look at Garrett Schrader, like he's way better. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm like, we're stopping the run.
Constant spy all the time, and then
we're making Clemson, or we're making Schrader throw from the pocket. Because when Schrader throws from the pocket, he's not very good if you look at his stats.
He's better rolling out, obviously.
He's better, yes. He's better out doing his thing, right? And the thing is that, like, receivers in certain situations like that can thrive because, he can roll out.
They have to be able to improvise, though. And
he can expend the play. Why do you think that Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes does what he does? Right, because Patrick Mahomes, he buys time. There's a play last night where he bought like 8 seconds and whizzed it into Kelsey. You can't guard Tyreek Hill for 8 seconds. You can't guard you know what I mean? So it's very hard to guard somebody for that long. And to just see him rolling out and still not have receivers get open sometimes is very, very frustrating to me because
we've seen that, right, Joe? We've seen our receivers just be like,
right. Well, it's difficult sometimes. Sometimes you are going to get beat. Sometimes you go against a corner. If you're just going to run your route, then he's going to beat you. Sometimes you're not going to be open, and then that's what it's going to be. But if you go away from the route and now you're free range running, this guy's scrambling over here, so I got to go run toward him, and I'm just going to run towards the open part of the field. That's the type of stuff like Sean Tucker's pass to go in overtime. It was the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? He kind of just read the defense. He saw where the opening was, and Schrader just threw it to where nobody was, and that's where Sean Tucker was, and got him in position. You got to be able to run that little scramble drill as a receiver, and hopefully our receivers can start to catch up. I know that Courtney Jackson, he looked good last week, and it looks like we're getting, Chris Blake and
Service.
Abdul Adams. I didn't know Abdul Adams was hurt.
Service is supposed to come back, I think.
Right. So, and at least we know that if those guys go down, we got guys, last week, gave us a little bit of confidence with those freshmen. So, I mean, we'll see overall, right? But at the end of the day, it's a situation where, they got a better defense than we do. We got a better offense than they do. But who's going to kind of surprise them with something they don't, and realistically, I don't really think it's going to be a huge surprise. I think that both teams and both coaches know the strengths and the weaknesses. And I think realistically, it's going to come down to the special teams, penalties, and the big plays and turnovers.
Yeah. I mean, Syracuse is in that tier of play right now where fixing all of those things puts them into the next level. And, we're just we're not there yet. We haven't seen a full game yet. We haven't seen we've seen some good. Last week's game was good. Okay. But still the little stuff killed us, and the little stuff is going to kill us in every game for the rest of the season. It's going to come down to that every time with the way Syracuse is playing, and just be happy that they're there. But this is like I said last night, this is not just like, okay, people can say, okay, the ACC's down. Why? Because of Clemson, right? I mean, really, I feel like Clemson is okay. Clemson's down, okay? But all the other teams really are not.
But they're down, but they're not. I mean, they're down from like a college football playoff team.
Sure, from SEC, right? Yes, exactly.
It's not like they're going. Right. It's not like they're down like we're a 4-8 team.
Right, but like, we get no respect. ACC doesn't get much respect. I mean, Clemson has been holding up to ACC. Yeah, and so when you really look at it, as all of you guys listening, watching a lot of ACC football, you guys know these teams are good. These teams are Duke sucks, but these teams are pretty good. So, I mean, it's very even. Syracuse can win any of these games for the rest of the season, in my opinion. And
that's what it comes down to. I mean, even when you look at the Liberty game, Liberty's a good team. What did we do? We made a big play at the end to win the game. And that's not what happened at Florida State, and that's not what happened. Now, we made big plays to stay in the game in Florida State. But like last game, there wasn't a lot of huge big plays. And I think that really that's what we were one big play away from beating Wake Forest. And instead,
what, we lost by 6 points in the last two games? Yeah. 6 points in the last 2 games.
Right.
16 points in our 3 losses.
And I don't see a situation where that's going to change even this week. I wouldn't be surprised if Clemson won.
I wouldn't be surprised if they won either.
But as a 14-point favorite, I would be surprised if they covered.
That's a good point. Yes.
And I would also be surprised if they blew us out.
I don't think we're getting blown out. Obviously, anything can happen. And, I hate being that guy to be like, oh, we're not going to get blown out, and then we get blown out. But to Joe's point, 14 points to give to Clemson after the way Syracuse has been playing. That's a lot. At home, too? Come on. Yeah. That's no respect.
On a Friday night.
Yeah, that's no respect at all.
Well, I bet you that comes down. And, at the end of the day, if it does happen and they come out and they beat us by 28 or whatever, then we know Clemson's back, and I probably wouldn't expect them to lose another regular season game.
No,
Probably get right back in the ACC championship. So, I mean, that's really what it is. And DJ, the quarterback, a lot's on his shoulders.
DJ David, the quarterback. Okay. All right. Look, that is going to do it for us. We appreciate all of you for coming in and tuning in and hanging out with us. We really, really do. Go Orange. Fill the damn stadium. Otto's Army's on a mission to fill the stadium. Fill the stadium, please. We want to see it. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out.
Peace.